If anything, people are like, oh, and people aren't going to want to mess with Sophie Cunningham. No, everyone wants to mess with Sophie Cunningham. But people aren't going to mess with Caitlin Clark. If people go near Caitlin Clark, Sophie Cunningham's immediately stepping in.
But the Mystics refused to shake the hands of the Fever players after the game. Boy, I'm going to tell you, this league is just ate up with class.
But, yeah, this was the response. I'm just a girl, but I only play WWE with my sister, so chill.
The arena went dead silent. Like, you could literally hear sneakers squeak. Why? Because a rookie, a rookie, just shoved veteran Sophie Cunningham to the floor like it was WWE, not WNBA.
And people don't realize, I'm pretty sure Sophie Cunningham is a black belt in Taekwondo.
No play happening, no screen being set, just straight up. Disrespect during what should have been a low-stakes preseason game. But what happened next? Sophie popped up like a firecracker, stormed right into Kiki Urafan's face, and let loose with something so heated the broadcast had to censor it. Even Dana Bonner came charging in to defend her, and just when you thought, okay, that's that, nah, Sophie wasn't done. Hours later, she jumped on Instagram with a savage message that has the entire WNBA talking. This wasn't just a preseason scuffle, this was a shot fired. And Sophie? She fired back. And oh, she fired smart. All right. Let's rewind and break this down frame by frame, because what happened here wasn't just some physical play gone wrong. This was personal. The Fever were lining up defensively, nothing major happening, and then, out of nowhere, Mystics rookie Kiki Urafan walked straight over and shoved Sophie Cunningham flat to the hardwood. No pick, no ball, no contact play, just pure aggression. Go back and watch the tape. You'll see it crystal clear. Sophie wasn't even setting a screen or battling for position. Kiki just walked up and dropped her. That wasn't a foul, that was a statement. And Sophie? She didn't stay down for a second. She popped up like she'd just been hit with an insult, not a body. Charged right up to Kiki and shouted, "You don't mother effing do that!" You could see the heat in her face. She was ready to throw down if someone blinked. Wrong. The camera catches Kiki smirking, like she was proud of it. This wasn't some misunderstanding. This was a straight-up rookie making a name for herself by trying to punk a vet. And listen, in the WNBA, especially in preseason, you don't just randomly shove a veteran to the ground. That's not intensity. That's disrespect. And Sophie? She made sure that was clear right then and there. Let's talk about Kiki Urafan for a second, because this wasn't just any shove, and she's not just any rookie. Kiki's fresh off the draft board. A top prospect the Washington Mystics have been hyping up since day one. She's strong, athletic, and she plays with that chip on your shoulder kind of energy. Every team wants that spark in a young player, someone unafraid to make noise. But here's the thing. There's a fine line between playing aggressive and straight up playing dirty. What Kiki did to Sophie Cunningham, that wasn't basketball. That was a statement, a loud one. In the middle of a preseason game, where everyone's just trying to shake the rust off, she stepped out of position, crossed the court, and shoved a respected veteran to the floor for no basketball reason at all. No screen, no ball, just a blatant body check like she was trying out for the NFL. And look, if you think I'm exaggerating, go watch the footage. There's no defensive setup, no contact initiation, just a shove, and then a smile. Yeah, Kiki actually grinned after putting Sophie on the hardwood. That wasn't an oops moment. That was I meant to do that energy. Now let's put this in perspective. In the WNBA, veterans have earned their space. You might not love them, but you respect them, because they've bled, sweated, and clawed their way through years of competition. Sophie Cunningham is one of those vets. She's scrappy, sure, but she's proven. And here comes Kiki, in her first preseason showing already picking fights. That's not earning your place. That's skipping the line and slapping the person at the front. It's like walking into a new job and knocking over the manager's coffee on purpose. That's why fans, analysts, and even players are raising eyebrows. This isn't just about a hard foul. It's about a rookie trying to make a name for herself in the worst possible way. And she picked the wrong vet to test. Because Sophie, she's not the type to let things slide. Now here's where things went from spicy to full-on chaotic. Sophie's still fuming, right? She just got blindsided by a rookie on national TV. The arena's buzzing, and before things can even cool off, boom, Dana Bonner charges in. If you don't know Dana Bonner, let me catch you up. This is a vet's vet, tough, respected, a team-first warrior who doesn't play when it comes to protecting her squad. And the second she saw Kiki shove Sophie, she stepped in instantly. No hesitation, no waiting for the refs, just pure teammate instinct. She didn't come in throwing hands or shouting. It wasn't about causing more drama. It was about drawing a line, letting the Mystics know, you come for one of us, you deal with all of us. That's what a real squad looks like. And the tension didn't stop there. Brittany Sykes, one of the Mystics' most physical and emotional players, got involved too. Now we've got vets on both sides jawing at mid-court, teammates holding people back, coaches stepping in, refs blowing whistles like it's a fire drill. What started as a shove turned into a showdown. But let's be clear, this wasn't just about Sophie. This was about respect. When Dana Bonner stepped in, she wasn't just protecting a teammate. She was defending the code, that invisible but very real standard every player is expected to follow. You don't shove a vet, you don't cheap shot a teammate, and you definitely don't smile about it like you just pulled off some genius move. That kind of behavior, that threatens team chemistry, that creates rivalries, that turns a meaningless preseason matchup into a future grudge game. Even the broadcast team went quiet for a second, like they knew what we were all witnessing wasn't just a typical scuffle. This was a flashpoint. You could feel it. This wasn't over. So the dust finally settles on the court, or at least that's what we thought. Because just a few hours later, Sophie Cunningham jumps on Instagram and drops what might be the most savage, ice-cold response of the year. No rant, no call-out, no complaints to the league. Just one simple, perfectly timed post on her story with a video clip of the incident and the caption, "I'm just a girl, and I only play WWE with my sister. So chill." Mic drop. And the way she said it, casual, effortless, like she wasn't even pressed, like she just flicked Kiki's shove off her shoulder like lint. She wasn't mad, she was amused. Now, let's break that down. In just a few words, Sophie flipped the script completely. She framed Kiki's shove not as a serious attack, but as a childish stunt, a fake, like something out of staged wrestling, not real competition. She didn't just brush it off, she mocked it. And the WWE reference, that was brilliant, because it sent one clear message. Nice try, rookie, but I've seen tougher moves from my little sister. That's what we call veteran-level clapback. She didn't need to throw a punch or scream on camera. She let her wit and her composure do all the talking, and the fans, they went crazy. Social media lit up instantly, people reposting the story, adding their own captions, calling it the coolest takedown of the season. Even sports pages picked it up and started analyzing the message like it was a chess move. Because make no mistake, it was a chess move. In one calm, clever sentence, Sophie shifted the whole narrative. Now, she's not just the veteran who got shoved, she's the one who won the exchange without even sweating. And let's not forget, coming from Sophie, this wasn't just sass, this was strategy. She knew exactly what she was doing. Now here's where things get really interesting. Because Sophie's response wasn't just clever, it was calculated. Most people saw her be with my sister line and thought it was just a funny little burn. But what if I told you there's real power behind that chill? Sophie Cunningham earned a black belt in Taekwondo at just 6 years old. Yeah, 6. While most kids were barely mastering hopscotch, Sophie was already learning controlled aggression, balance, and how to defend herself with absolute discipline. That changes everything. When you've trained in martial arts from childhood, you're taught something essential. The most dangerous person in the room is the one who doesn't need to prove it. You don't flinch, you don't lash out, you stay calm, you stay sharp. And when you do strike, it's clean, it's purposeful, and it lands. So when Sophie looked into the camera and said, "So chill," that wasn't passive. That was a subtle warning. She's not fazed because she doesn't have to be. She knows she can defend herself, physically, mentally, socially, but more importantly, she knows when not to escalate. And that's what made her Instagram post so powerful. Kiki wanted chaos. Sophie gave her calm. Kiki wanted to throw fists. Sophie threw shade. And she did it with the kind of mental discipline that only comes from years of mastering control. Let's be real. The WNBA has its share of physical players, but not every player has this level of self-awareness. Sophie didn't just win the scuffle, she won the optics too. And in this media-driven era of sports, that's everything. She used a martial artist mindset to take all the energy coming at her and redirect it like a black belt, literally. Let's break this down deeper, because what Sophie did wasn't just funny or classy. It was mental warfare, and it worked. In sports, there's physical toughness, and then there's mental toughness. And what Sophie showed after that shove, that was veteran-level emotional control. Kiki Urafan came in trying to rattle her. Let's call it what it is. She wanted to punk a vet, throw her off her game, maybe even bait her into a tech or an ejection. That's a classic move from a young player trying to make noise. But what Sophie did instead, she didn't just stay cool. She flipped the entire narrative on her terms. By not responding with anger, Sophie instantly took the upper hand. She didn't chase Kiki down the court or throw a wild elbow. She just stood up, said her piece, and moved on. And then, hours later, she responds with humor. publicly, on a platform Kiki couldn't escape. That's when it hit. The post wasn't about revenge. It was about exposing how unserious the shove really was. She reframed the moment. Now, instead of people talking about Kiki's toughness, they're talking about how she got clowned on Instagram by a veteran who's been through it all. Sports psychologists talk about this all the time. The most composed players are the most dangerous. The athlete who controls their emotions controls the game. That's what Sophie did here. She turned down the noise, stayed in the moment, and picked the perfect time to clap back without ever raising her voice. And the best part? She embarrassed Kiki without even saying her name. That's power. That's why her response wasn't just smart, it was strategic. She took all of Kiki's aggression, all the heat, all the chaos, and responded with cool precision. While Kiki was playing checkers, Sophie was out here playing chess. And the board? That was the entire WNBA internet. Now here's where things go from spicy to scorching. Because after all the talk, all the drama, all the Instagram smoke, Sophie Cunningham backed it up on the court like a boss. She dropped 21 points, snagged 8 rebounds, and threw in 2 assists for good measure, all in a preseason game that suddenly didn't feel so preseason anymore. Let's be real here. A lot of players talk. A lot of players get in their feelings, take to social media, maybe stir up a little drama, and then fade into the background when the ball actually tips. Not Sophie. She let her game do the real talking. Second quarter, that's when everything shifted. The Fever were flat, offense stalled, defense dragging, but the moment Sophie checked in, boom, the entire energy changed. Suddenly Indiana's movement picked up, the crowd woke up, and the physical intensity matched and then surpassed. She was everywhere, crashing the boards, hitting shots from deep and going straight at the same Mystics players who tried to punk her earlier. And the best part? She wasn't playing angry. She was locked in, focused, calculated. This wasn't revenge. It was a reminder. You don't rattle me, you motivate me. Let me put it this way. When a player gets shoved to the ground, mocked, and then comes out and carries their team on both ends of the floor, that's not a response, that's a statement. And let's not forget, Caitlin Clark wasn't even playing. So who had to step into that spotlight? Who had to take the hits, the media attention, the pressure? Sophie, and she owned it. It wasn't just a great stat line, it was veteran leadership. In real time, she didn't pout, she didn't play victim. She flipped the entire script, from underdog to enforcer, from target to X Factor. If you're wondering who lit the fire under the Fever that game, it wasn't a halftime speech. It was Sophie Cunningham making a decision. You want to come at us? Then you'll have to deal with me first. But here's where things get even smarter. Because this whole situation, it wasn't just Sophie showing fire, it was Sophie playing the role her team needs. Caitlin Clark, the most hyped rookie in years, didn't play that night. Minor injury. So the spotlight, the tension, and, let's be honest, the target, it was wide open. And who stepped in to fill that gap? Sophie. Not just as a scorer, not just as a fighter, but as the team's lightning rod. She took all that chaos and heat off the rookies and put it squarely on herself. That's what a real veteran does. She doesn't just guide from the bench, she absorbs pressure, sets the emotional tone, and sends a message to the other team. You don't get to intimidate us, not while I'm here. Think about it. Last season, teams targeted Caitlin. Hard fouls, trash talk, full court pressure. She was the one everyone wanted to knock off her game. But this season, with Sophie on the floor, that dynamic is changing. You saw it with the Mystics. They didn't even bother trying to rattle Caitlin. She wasn't playing. They went after Sophie, and she welcomed it. She invited it, because she knows what she's doing. It's like having a bodyguard who also happens to drop 20 points a night. That's value you don't see in a stat sheet, but every coach in the league knows how important that is. By becoming the emotional shield, Sophie frees up Caitlin to just play her game, to focus on leading, scoring, developing, without constantly having to defend herself from cheap shots and distractions. In a way, Sophie's like a basketball version of a decoy, except instead of drawing defenders, she's drawing drama. She's absorbing it, redirecting it, and keeping her team focused. That's strategic leadership. That's playing chess in a league full of checkers. That's Sophie Cunningham doing exactly what the Fever need, even if it means taking a few hits to make it happen. Here's the real kicker. This whole situation, it didn't just shake up one game. It lit the fuse on a rivalry that's now must-watch basketball. The Fever and the Mystics already had a little edge between them. Physical matchups, jawing between players, playoff frustrations. But now, thanks to this moment, it's officially personal. And mark your calendars, because on May 28th, these two teams are going to face off again. But this time, with Caitlin Clark back, with the full rosters, and with memories still fresh. We're not just talking about another date on the WNBA calendar. This is now a grudge match. You think Sophie forgot that shove? You think Dana Bonner's not still fired up? You think Kiki's gonna walk onto that floor without feeling the heat of every camera, every fan, every rival player watching how she responds? May 28th isn't just a game. It's a statement opportunity for both sides. For the Fever, it's a chance to show they're not to be bullied, that this team has each other's backs, and that they're not just riding on Caitlin Clark's name, they've got grit. And for the Mystics, let's be honest, they're now the ones on the defensive. Their rookie came in hot and might have picked a fight her team wasn't ready for. If they bring the same energy, expect retaliation. If they back down, the internet's not gonna forget. This is what makes the WNBA great. Not just talent, but narrative, personality, conflict, stakes. This isn't preseason noise anymore. This is fuel for a rivalry that could shape the whole season. And after what went down, you better believe everyone will be watching. So let's take a step back and look at the big picture. A rookie tried to test a veteran, and in the span of 24 hours, that vet flipped the entire situation on its head. Sophie Cunningham didn't just respond, she owned it. From getting shoved to the floor, to clapping back with humor, to dropping 21 points in a comeback win, Sophie sent a message louder than any foul could. This is my league. I've earned this, and you're not gonna shake me. And she did it all while protecting her team, while shielding a rookie phenom in Caitlin Clark, while keeping the Fever focused. This is the part of the WNBA casual fans miss, the real chess game behind the scenes, the way veterans shape culture, the way rivalries get built, the way leaders step up when the moment demands it. And now, we've got a new storyline, a new matchup to watch, a new chapter in what's shaping up to be one of the most intense seasons the W's ever had. So what do you think? Did Kiki cross the line? Was Sophie's response perfect or petty? And who are you riding with come May 28th? Fever or Mystics? Drop your takes in the comments, hit that like button if you respect how Sophie handled it, and make sure you subscribe, because you better believe we'll be watching when these two go at it again. Until then, keep your eyes on the court, because this season, it's personal.